We are listening to the KEF LS50 Metas on the stereo microphone. Don't have the Rode mic clipped to my shirt. We are listening in stereo. These are the speakers behind me. Whew, I've been going back and forth. Let me pause this. I've been going back and forth trying to decide if I want to keep these or not. Because if you are familiar with the KEF Sky channel last year, you guys know for about half a year I've had the, the Bowers & Wilkins 606 S2s, the anniversary series. I think that's what they are. I can't remember. But I really like those. I really like these, but they cost almost $1,700 for the pair. So I've done some listening off camera. Always do. Always listen off camera. And then when I come to these videos, I have to use non-copyright music. So the songs that we listen to today, we will both be hearing for the first time. They are live reactions to how these sound. I already have an idea of how they sound with everyday normal music, but we're gonna do some live listening too. Let's play that same song we were just listening to. Let's see. There's two things that I want to say about these speakers. Pros, the good things. There's two main things that I want to say about these speakers that I just cannot ignore. Number one is the stereo imaging and the ability to separate the vocals from the instruments, and even within the instruments separate different instruments from each other. What do I mean? I mean there's a trumpet in here, there's a bass guitar in here, there's a guitar, I think, and something in there. There's several different instruments in there, and you have the ability to hear each and every one of them, and it sounds amazing. And then put that with the stereo imaging and separation. My speakers aren't very far apart. They're less than my arm span, my wingspan, and you still get a very wide wall of sound, even from this close. I have listened to them from far, and they sound amazing from far, like most people would listen to them. But if you want to put these on a desk like I have, they sound incredible as near field speakers, which I kind of figured that they would, being so small and having that unique Q driver, meaning it's a coaxial design. Your tweeter is built in to the mid-range to help give you a seamless sound. It works. It's not a gimmick. KEF's been doing it forever, and they have it in so many of their lines. Even some of their entry-level stuff has the UniQ array. This thing is nice. It is a difference. It's a little bit of a difference. I don't know if it's night and day difference between your standard tweeter on the top, mid-range underneath. I don't know if that's, a huge difference, but I do appreciate what these can do. I have to continue to go with some of this non-copyright stuff. I'm just going to click on a few different ones here. The second thing that I wanted to say about these speakers that I just can't ignore is how clean the bass is. There are only one little bit of accessories, one accessory in the box when you buy the KEF LS50 Metas, and it's these little, they're port, what do you call these? I can't remember the word for these, but they block the port. Port plugs, there we go. They're port plugs. There are ports on the back. One oval shaped port is on the back side of here, and you can plug those in two different ways. You can kind of tune it how you want to. So you can have it completely sealed, or you can take the middle insert out of the port plug and kind of have it halfway sealed, so you still get a little bit of air passing through. But the point of these is to tighten up the sound or reduce some of the boundary gain if you have it against the wall. I don't see a point of having these at all in these particular speakers, against the wall or not, because the bass that comes out of these things, one, is surprising because it actually digs relatively low, which is really impressive for their size, And then not only is it low, but every bit of it from the lower registers to the mid-range frequencies is very tight, articulate, and balanced. It's already pretty balanced from what I listen to off camera and what I'm listening to now. And so I don't really find a need to have these. I have tried them though just for test purposes, and it does tighten up the bass even more, but you significantly suffocate the lower registers, which you need unless you're going to be using a subwoofer with these, which I find these really nice without a subwoofer. I think they sound absolutely pleasing without a subwoofer. The only reason why I would pair these with a subwoofer was if they were part of my home theater. But for a full-on 2-channel system, unless you have these in a big room, which I don't recommend, I think if you have them in a medium-sized to small room, you don't need a subwoofer with these because they do really, really good. I want to go to some other genres of music here and kind of see what it does with that. I'm going to go just play a few different random songs here, like last time. We did this same song on the Triangle BR03s, the Triangle Borea speakers. Let's see how these sound. That speaker is like a fraction of the cost. Not a bad sound. This song kind of exposed them a little bit because there are times, which I notice in regular music listening, there are times when these can sound a little bit chesty, which is surprising because the bass tends to be pretty smooth and pretty articulate. But there are songs that can bring out the worst in these, which is still not bad. If your ear is trained for really good audio, you may be able to pick some stuff out of it. They're not terrible. It's not displeasing by any means, but if to the trained ear, it can lose control over the bass at times, depending on what style of music you're listening to. I'm gonna purposely pick what I know is kind of like a hip-hop beat and see how it does with that. Now, it did better with this one. It sounded better with this one. There still are times where you can have a muddy sound, which makes you want to go to the remote and turn the bass down just a little bit, which sucks because it sounds clean on the really low notes and really high mid-range, but kind of in that middle chesty area, it can sound chesty, which is expected when you have a speaker pressed up against the wall like this. So maybe if I pulled them out into the room, it would change my idea of what it sounds like, but it by no means is it terrible. I really appreciate that unique Q driver, the tweeter in general. It does a really good job at taking that direction of the speakers out of the picture. I know where the speakers are placed, but I am centered, even though I'm not facing the speaker, I am centered in between them, and it still takes away. You know that the sound's coming over here and sound's coming over here, but you can't pinpoint that it's right there where it is. It's so much bigger than the speaker itself. The sound is so much bigger than the speaker itself, to the point where it sounds like this whole back room is just one big band of audio until you hear the separation, and then you hear piano here, and then you hear a cymbal here, and then you can kind of get that stereo image. But overall, the sound doesn't sound as directional as some speakers can. These are solid sounding speakers. Speaking of solid, these speakers don't weigh much, but for the size, it has a pretty good weight to them. All the weight is in the front as well. That UniQ driver with the mid-range driver around it, there's a lot of weight in the front of the speaker, which was funny because I had to put them farther against my stands, farther back on my stands, because they would tip forward because they were so front face heavy. Which, I mean, makes sense. Everything about the speaker is right there in the front, and that's a really good description of the sound. Everything is front, everything is in the front, everything is forward, which sounds incredibly pleasing to the ear on multiple different genres of music. So if it doesn't really matter what you're going to listen to on these, they're going to sound good. But they do seem to favor that jazz, acoustic, vocal kind of music. When you get into the hip-hop and the R&B of today's times, it just sounds like whatever. But when you get into the musical scores that actually really showcase what music's all about, these do a lot better with replicating that kind of music, which is why I didn't know if I wanted to keep these or not, because I don't listen heavily, I don't really listen to critical music a lot all the time, and so I couldn't justify my price tag. It's almost $1,700 for the pair. It doesn't matter what color you choose, color combination of driver and cabinet, it doesn't matter, it's all the same price. But I really contemplated keeping these because they are so good. But will I use them for what they're good at? No, I don't think so. I think they'll be played for games, and every now and then I'll play music around the house if I don't want to turn on the whole system. And then the music that I do listen to doesn't sound that great anyway. But let's do one more and then we'll wrap it up. I'm going to really quickly, because the video is getting long, I want to do a female voice and a male voice and see what we think. This is a really low voice to start. We'll see how it handles it.
Never felt more like a winner than I do tonight. Never more certain the path laid before me was right. You over there with the curls in your hair, couldn't find more of a reason to stare. Never seen eyes look into me as you do tonight.
Let's see what it does with this part.
Honey, I've been racing the wind like a bird, been chasing the wealth of the world, but it fades when you're near. So tell me where we go from.
This song is, I love playing this song for demos for speakers. Every demo that I do, I always use this song because this really shows the weakness, the good speakers from the bad speakers. This is the first time on any demo, other than my Canton speakers, any demo that I've done with this speaker or with this song, the issue has been his voice really gets lost in the instruments. Like the instruments just seem so loud and it just seems jumbled together. This did a really solid job at separating all of those things. All the instruments, that piano, because it can get annoying with that. It's repetitive, but a bad speaker will have you listening to the instruments. A good speaker will have you listening to his voice. And that's what I was listening to. You may have saw me smiling in the video because the voices were forward and I was able to really understand what he was saying, which I haven't really been able to do on other speakers, like the triangle speakers that I reviewed, or the Sony speakers that I reviewed, or even the Bowers and Wilkins speakers that I have didn't do very well with that. But not only were the vocals forward, but there was a wispy, light, airy feeling to that piano and some of the instruments behind them, which was nice. The voices stayed forward, but all the instruments kind of rose into the air, and that again attests to that big wall of sound. Your voices stayed direct, and then it's just amazing. It's just amazing. I don't think I'm gonna do a female voice. Well, I might as well. Let's do it.
In the sweet despair, I find something true that I like. I won't stress you, dear. I know that you made up your mind. Pretending that nothing has changed. Time is my only escape. I know that I lost you that night.
These are absolutely amazing speakers. There are some flaws. They can get a little bit muddy in some registers. When you pick the wrong song, it can sound like an average speaker. But when you play music like this that's been composed well, is when you bring the best out of these speakers. When you bring out the best in any speakers, they sound absolutely phenomenal, to be honest with you guys. They are worth the price tag. I wouldn't pay much more than what they're worth. I wouldn't pay more than what they're worth for anything. But where they are priced at, I think it's good. I think anything priced higher than that is better than these. But these sound really solid. I like the small form factor, so you can use them for a lot of different things. I wouldn't spend this much money to use them as a surround speaker. I would definitely put these as my front speakers in a home theater application, or if you're running a full bookshelf system, use these as your front speakers. If you're running a desk setup or a small 2-channel hi-fi system, that's what you want to use these for. Don't waste your money and use them as surround sound speakers. That is doing a disjustice to you and the speaker itself. But phenomenal sounding speaker. Don't put these plugs in here unless you have them pressed all the way up against the wall, then maybe half plug them. But the bass sounds phenomenal 9 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10 songs. It's a solid performer. I really wish that I didn't listen to these because now I don't know if I want to keep them. These are the real deal. Guys, leave me a comment down below and let me know, have you heard of the KEF LS50 Metas, the original LS50s? Have you heard any of KEF's smaller bookshelf hi-fi speakers like this? Let me know what you've thought about them down below, because I'm curious to know if you guys kind of had a similar experience as I did. The video is long, but that's okay. I wanted to say all this stuff and give you a live reaction. I won't always do reviews like this, but I think I'll do them every now and then just to change up things. But these sound phenomenal, and I'm going to have to think if I want to keep them. I have till January 31st to decide, so we'll figure it all out. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that like button and subscribe if you are not already. We will see you in the next video. KEF LS50 out. Peace.